This is the Jaguar XFR-S. You can buy an XF, a Jaguar XF, for 30 grand. You can buy a 5 litre supercharged Jaguar XF for 65 grand, and that thing is ballistic. It's got 500 horsepower, it does 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, and it's absolutely mental and crackers. This is £80,000. It is the XFR-S, and it doesn't have 500 horsepower, it has 550 horsepower and 502 pound-foot of torque. 8-speed ZF gearbox, which is a torque converter, it's not a twin clutch job, and it comes in ultra blue, which you can't get on the rest of the XF range. You can also get racing red as well, white, black and silver. And you might have noticed the spoiler, which is an option. You can get a smaller, more tasteful spoiler, but the Evo spoiler on this is real carbon fibre. We're not focusing very well on that. There we go. Plus body kit. Those aren't the only changes over the XFR. It also has a new rear subframe for improved stability and handling. It has bigger brakes, much bigger. Look at the size of them. It's got those 20-inch wheels. They didn't go the full 22. 20-inch wheels look pretty good in the body and the arches. It's got new suspension. It's got obviously an extra 50 horsepower over the XFR, and it is outrageous. It looks outrageous. It costs an outrageous amount of money, and it drives outrageously. Don't forget, this isn't a four-wheel drive Audi. This is rear-wheel drive. It weighs nearly 2 tons. Let me have a look at the rest of the stats. I've actually got a piece of paper with them here. It does 24.4 miles per gallon. No, it doesn't. In real life, it does about 15 miles per gallon. It emits 270 grams per kilometre of CO2. That's not surprising. And it weighs 1,987 kilograms. 0 to 60 takes 4.4 seconds. In the real world, on real roads, you're going to struggle to match 4.4. It's probably one of the easiest cars to actually attain something like the claimed performance figures. However, because it's not a finicky car, it's just a dead simple car to drive. You get in it and you drive it. It's not a Ferrari, it's not something like that. But look at the road, it's January, it's wet. Getting that traction down is almost impossible. On the way here, I was doing 40 miles an hour I wasn't in dynamic mode, I was just in the normal settings. In fact, I had it on winter mode. I put my foot down a little bit too much and the rear end kicked out once, twice, 3 times. It snaked. It was a little bit scary for someone that's driven a lot of 500 plus horsepower cars. I'm kind of used to them, but it can catch you out. Anyway, the XF is getting on a little bit now. It's going to be replaced at the end of this year being 2015, but it still looks fab. Look at that front end. Thank you, Mr. Ian Callum, who designed it. It looks fab. Right, quick look inside. That spoiler really is ace, isn't it? Right, back seats. The XF is pretty spacious in the back. It doesn't have TV screens and things like that you might get in a Range Rover. This is a pretty focused car. You'll see more of this, and you'll see more of this as well, this carbon trim. And this, the RS logo. I mean, you know, Jaguar has thrown the options list at this car. You pay a lot of money for it, you get a hell of a lot of car. So, overview. All is laid out the same way as a standard XF, but you get the aluminium trim, you get the logos, and you get these seats, which are, you know, all Jaguars have comfortable seats. These are rather fine, RS logo, piping. Now you can you can specify white or red piping. It doesn't have to be blue, but this carbon effect comes on all of them. I don't think it's worth dwelling any more on the inside. Should we go for a spin? First thing we need to start off with, open the window. Here's the engine. Sounds magnificent. It doesn't have quite the pops and the crackles that the XFR-S that now no longer exists has, and the F-Type with the V8, but it is a pretty good noisy car. Right, we're on a bit of private road, so I can just demonstrate. I'm going to reverse and get a bit of distance here. Demonstrate quite how powerful the car is. Put it in drive, well, sport, and foot down. It would go on all day. The tyres are still smoking, by the way. It would go on all day. So traction control off. Even if you're fairly delicate with the throttle, it spins. You don't have to try very hard in this car. So let's try and get onto the road. 550 horsepower is fine-ish when the roads are dry. When the roads are wet like this, it's a beast. It's an animal. It's absolutely brutal. So I'm going to drive it very sensibly because we're on the public highway here. I'm going to drive it very sensibly. Still, you've got the exhaust note. Still, you've got the comfort. This is a fast car. The steering is very good. The rack is sharper. It's not a different rack, it's just the software. It's a sharper steer. The steering is slightly firmer, slightly stiffer. You don't notice it a great deal. You don't think, gosh, this is really stiff steering. It just gives you more feel. You're not going to get an incredible amount of feel from a 2,000 kilo car, but it's not bad. Now, because it's a saloon car that's very quick, Jaguar have decided they don't want to make this thing break your spine, shake the fillings out of your teeth. It is a composed ride. The springs are stiffer than they are in the XFR, I think 30% stiffer, but still, it's a refined, it's a smooth, it's not a soft ride, but you certainly don't get shaken about all over the place. You could just cruise along in this car all day and be quite happy, really. You'd get out of it from the very comfortable seats, a nice ride. The driving position is superb, and feel fairly refreshed after a couple 100-mile journey. It is a car with two characters. It's a car that is comfortable, is smooth, which is also very powerful. Being very powerful translates into very quick, which brings out the other side of the XFR-S's character. It is so quick, it is almost too quick. It is one of those cars that has so much power, it doesn't quite know what to do with it. Put your foot down, it's just going along on a normal B road, and I put my foot down and the rear wheels spun for 30 yards. It's outrageous. And at £80,000, you want it to be outrageous. You want to show off. You want to say you've spent that kind of money, because for 80 grand, you can buy a lot of other cars. You can buy an AMG Mercedes. You can buy a BMW M5. You can buy an Audi RS6. You can even buy a Range Rover for the same sort of money. The Range Rover has a lot more toys. It's four-wheel drive. It's bigger. It's more spacious. If you're gonna choose an XFR-S, spec it with a loud paint, the blue or the red. Have the big spoiler and show everybody where you've spent your money, because otherwise it will look like any other XF, and you can buy an XF for 40 grand.